All right, welcome back to Barry's Poetic Session, the relationship show. I'm your host, Barry, a.k.a. the Dark Knight, and with me I have the terrific, the talented, the titillating Takalani.
Hi, baby.
I better have. And now we're going to talk about who the F did I marry. Had a podcast, Risa Tisa, and she had 50 installments of what happened in her brief relationship, marriage, and divorce of an individual. And I want to first get your thoughts on how you felt about that, Tiffany.
Woo, child. So it wasn't a podcast, baby. It was TikTok videos, a series of TikTok videos that Risa Tisa put together, and her husband she refers to as Legion. So I watched all 50 parts in one setting. My intention was just like to watch maybe a few of them a day, but it was just so good. And I'm like, oh, I got to watch the next one. Oh, I got to watch the next one. And then next thing I know, I done watched all 50 parts. But there was so much that I admired about Risa Tisa. So one of the things that I admired was that she put her story out there, and she didn't put no filters on it to make herself look better or to make herself look more innocent than she was. Like, she took full accountability for things that went on in the relationship and things that should have been that she felt should have been a red flag. She said it was the United Nations of red flags and that she ignored them. And I have heard some criticism of her, mostly around the fact that she made these type of decisions in the first place and quote unquote led herself to be in this abusive relationship. I also listened to a 2.5-hour interview that a person had with Legion, the husband that she talks about in her videos. And I also listened to a video his stepson, his former stepson did, and also one of his ex-wives had done. So my take with all of this information is, number one, that I do believe that Risa Tisa was telling the truth. I do believe that Legion is a liar. I do believe the wife that I heard, I believe her name is Latoya, she was the first wife, and she talked about how she was haunted by the abuse she suffered from him. And even in his interview, you could tell, first of all, you could tell he was lying because the shit he was saying didn't make no sense. So, like, one thing he said was he supposedly caught Risa Tisa cheating with a male coworker. And he said that the male co-worker's wife said, will you follow me to Burger King so I can show you a video? He follows her to Burger King and she shows a video of Risa Tisa and the male co-worker having sex. Okay. So at that point, he's like, oh, they caught. So he said he didn't say nothing. Okay. He just finds out that somebody on the job banging his wife. He ain't say nothing. So then he says the wife calls him like, hey, they at our house right now. I'm about to go over there. You might want to come too. So he said he get there. He goes upstairs, sees them having sex. He turns around and comes back downstairs and waits on the co-worker's wife. Now, you know good and well, ain't no man gonna see some dude nailing his wife and he gonna go back downstairs
and wait for somebody else.
He finds out just by video, not witnessing it himself, okay? He finds out by video. He don't say nothing. He go home knowing that this done happened. He ain't said a word. Then he actually catched him in the act and talks about, oh, I just went back downstairs. Now, you know good and well, ain't no way. Ain't no way. So then he said, so the interviewer was looking kind of doubtful. And he was like, well, I did turn over a couch.
After it was over.
After it was over. After dude done already been balls deep in his wife, now he talking about, oh, well, you know, I just flipped over a couch. What?
So
He
what,
ain't touched dude, though.
So what did you think of the overall whole thing?
So that's my thing about Legion. Like, woo, child. Now with Risa Tisa, she talked a lot about her decision flaws, but I felt like she deserved a lot of grace. And one thing that bothered me was like there were people on the internet like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Shut up. Yes, you would. We done all made some relationship decisions in our lives that we now regret. All of us have. So what we not gonna do is play this game like she the only one that's ever made some type of decision that didn't align with who she felt she was. And then also look at the time in history that this is happening. This is happening during a pandemic. The one thing she said was that she was afraid to be alone during the pandemic. So imagine what that and you know, you and I were talking earlier about how the pandemic affected people's relationships and the decisions that they had to make in relationships, because you had to either get real serious real quick or you had to cut it off real quick. It wasn't no in between because, you know, everything was shut down. So what was you supposed to do? And so she decided to give this guy a chance. And so my thing is that she was making these decisions under considerable pressure. And the thing about it is, people make them type of decisions when it ain't no pandemic. But imagine having that extra layer on top of it. Now, do I think her decisions were wise? No. But I can also say that being on the outside of it and not having been in that particular situation. But now have I made decisions where I look back on it and I'm like, Tiffany, what was you thinking? Of course. Of course. I would argue that most people have.
Well, let me just say, she had 50 different episodes, which is a lot. First of all, now I understand, and she had to cut, you know, a few minutes on each one, and some of them she got more emotional than others, and it was as she was retelling, she was reliving some of those things, and so she had to, hey, stop and collect herself, and I get that. But I guess initially, what did you think was her motivation for her retelling this pandemic story or pandemic tale of what not to do?
Well, first of all, she kind of accidentally fell into this. Somebody had put a post on TikTok about what was the craziest relationship you had or something like that. And she responded something very briefly about her situation with Legion. And people was like, what? Nah, we need to hear the longer story about that. And she decided to do it. And she said, first of all, I think that she had the very, I felt like she was stereotypical in that the things that she said was very reflective of a woman who was abused. Now, another thing that I saw a lot on social media was people saying, well, you know, he never hit her. And people seem to not understand that abuse doesn't have to just occur physically. And even when it does occur physically, you have to break the person down mentally first to even get them in a position to accept the hitting. And that's the part people don't understand. We talk about how predators groom children all the time, but what's less talked about is how abusers actually groom their mates. and you
And
know,
their
sometimes
families.
they're friends and families and everything. And so that's what abusers do. And that is what he did to her. And I think that her motivation was basically to what she said, get the story out there. She said, you know, I want, if there's a woman out there right now thinking like, this seems kind of off, and she's letting it go away, she's like, I want you to look at my story and make a different decision. And I think she was, one, trying to counsel people, and two, I think that it, having that release, living through that again and coming at it from this side of it and telling that story, was probably very healing for her. As a matter of fact, she said it was cathartic to be able to tell this story, having survived and come on the other side of it. And I think that that's a beautiful thing that she did by coming forward with her story, especially exposing herself the way that she did to all the social media criticism. People were fat shaming her and saying really terrible things about her. And she took all that just so that she could get that story out there to other women who are abused and let them know, like, hey, don't make the mistakes I did. And if you do, there is a way out. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And I just admire the heck out of her for that.
Well, I think the one thing she said too is that she doesn't even recognize who she is now versus the person she was before this began. And she would have been changed whether it's pandemic or not, but having a messed up relationship in a pandemic. So it's a storm within a storm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it all started with, hey, dude is gonna pay her bills, and then, hey, let's work, live together at your house, because we got to be together. And then,
and see, this is something else that I think people don't understand. That was his way of grooming her, and being a person out here struggling on your own, and you had somebody coming in saying they're gonna pay the bills. I mean, you feel like this person is gonna save me from pretty much anything. It's a level of security that you feel. But see, that's how they do it. It's grooming. Even in what's love got to do with it? Remember when one of the band members, one of Ike's band members, had stepped on some flowers or something in the front yard, and he redid the mom's whole yard. And then when Tina was about to leave him, and she called her mom, and she was like, "What? Ike bought you a new house." So it's all a part of the grooming process, that I'm going to pay your bills, I'll pay your mama's bills, I'll do this, I'll do that. That's to get them set up in a situation where they are so vulnerable to them, then they can do whatever they want.
Or to get an in, whatever that in is. In this case, it was to pay the bills. But then, it could be something else. But whatever that person is feeling they need the most at that point in time to get in. But that was, I guess, Predator or Standard 101. How do I get that person?
Right.
But then when she knew dude was lying and she gave him that out, like, do I mess with the money? Or do I call him out on his lies? I'm not going to mess with the money. I'm going to give him out. Okay. That was the beginning of the end, it sounded like, for her relationship, even though they hadn't even got married yet.
Well, I don't think that it was solely the money at that point. Because another thing.
I don't mean it like that. I'm saying that at this point, she knew he was lying.
Right.
He didn't do what he said he was going to do, but he was still paying the bills on this hand. Right. But he was obviously not who she originally thought he was.
Right. And
so that was that pivotal moment of, now it's a pandemic and I got to make a decision. Do I keep rolling with this,
Right.
Or do I, is that one, there, so her first, there always seems like a fork in the road. Her first fork was, do want to get together, pay your bills or not? Okay, that was an easy decision. But then the next one was, okay, he lying, but is he going to keep paying the bills, or do I confront him and maybe he leaves, or it's over? So her next fork in the road made that, okay, now he knows, he's like, okay, she gonna let me get away with this. And once you start letting somebody get away with something, if a liar gets away with lying, what's he gonna keep doing?
Don't do it again. But the one thing about the money that I want to emphasize, though, is that another thing that she said was that she wanted to get married. Now, as women, when we start approaching our 30s and we're not married, the societal pressure of us being married, or we're not like worthy, or we're no good, is heavy. It's heavy at that point. And also, she's a Christian woman, and she didn't want to live with somebody and not be married as well. So marriage was her end goal in the first place. So not only were the bills getting paid, but I remember her saying, is it finally my turn? Is it finally my turn to have what I've always wanted, be married, be in love, have a family, and all of that. And even though she saw something, she let it go because she wanted that dream. And the thing about it is, not only did she want that dream, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So it ain't even like she can go around a whole bunch of places and be checking for other dudes and seeing what they talking about. This is her world right now. And I feel like, and I'm not saying you, but I feel like in some of the comments that I've seen on social media, that's something that a lot of people are dismissing. They're dismissing the fact that all of this is happening within a pandemic, and that everything is going to be totally different from what it was before. And so there may have been, Ryan, stop it. There may have been some, time in the past where, and actually she did say this, where it would have been like, okay, this dude lying, I'm out. We're in a different time right now. We have different goals right now. And I could also imagine, and she didn't say this, but psychologically speaking, we're in the middle of this pandemic. We have no idea what our world is going to turn into. We have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe this is my time to find my someone. Maybe this is my time to be able to really reflect on what I want and have somebody on that journey with me.
And so I think what happened with the pandemic is people doubled down, not just Risa Tisa, but everybody was like, look, I have to go with what's in front of me because tomorrow's not promised.
Right.
So let me double down and go with what's in front of me because shoot, across the street ain't promised to me.
Right. And I mean, and the thing about it too, I think, is that even in a non-pandemic situation, we think about like what it is that we want out of life, what our dreams are, how do we get those things? And, sometimes, you want to take a break real quick? Quick break.
All right. We'll be right back after this Barry's Poetic Session, the relationship show. And welcome back to Barry's Poetic Session, the relationship show. And we were talking about Risa Tisa and who does she marry? Well, I think when you don't know what's going on and what life is going to bring, you focus in on what's tangible and what's right there in your hands. Like, okay, a bird in the hand. I might be able to catch some birds, but I got this bird in my hand. I'ma ride this bird until all the bones are, are picked on this one. So, like you said, when she saw a potential mate for marriage and dude say, yeah, I'm down, despite whatever, all relationships have bumps in the road. So she's like, shoot, that's just a bump in the road. And, this it's a windy road. It's kind of like going up to the mountains. It's not like a normal, hey, we on dry land, on a no hills, nothing. Shoot, we going up to the mountains and we don't know what we're going to experience. So
one of the things that really actually where it went from interesting to kind of scary was when she found out that some of these people he was talking to on the phone wasn't real. Or if they weren't real, they were real people, but he wasn't talking to them. He just had the phone and was just talking, and nobody was on the other side of it. And I'm like, first of all, I see some psychopathology going on right there, but also it's like that just seems so scary to me that he could that he could hang on the phone this long trying to fool her. Like, to put that type of energy into fooling somebody, actually, I'm going to take that back, because I really think that he was starting to believe this, because what we find out later is that Legion has a twin who is a VP and all of this stuff that he said he is. So he just stole his twin's life.
Some of it, yeah.
And pretended, and then like he was talking to people on the phone that had died, and pretending he was talking to them. Like, so, like, I feel like he lied about some stuff and knew he was lying, but at the same time, I kind of feel like there's like this blurred line between reality and fantasy for him, because some of the things that he did was so odd that I felt, of course, he was trying to manipulate her, but I also think he was kind of trying to manipulate himself, and having these fake phone conversations. Like, something unresolved was there, and he was resolving it in this act. I mean, that's my interpretation, but that's where it started to get scary for me, because I'm like, if he's willing to go that far, what else is he willing to do to her? And I got really scared for her and where this story was going. And she said that it was concerning to her, of course, as well, when she finds out that these people weren't there. She had a miscarriage while they were in a relationship, and one person asked her, when can I see the baby? He didn't say that, she had the miscarriage, and was pretending that the baby was still alive. So it was at that point like, okay, we're not dealing with just some regular asshole. Like, this is something a little deeper.
But it's more either pathological or someone who can't deal with grief, or both. But something is not right.
Yeah, something's going on with him that he needs to get addressed. And then she talked about him having this knee pain and losing all this weight and all of that stuff. And when they asked him about it, he was like, oh, I was going to the gym. No, you wasn't going to no gym looking like that and peeing in Powerade bottles.
But he later said that he did have a car accident that he did admit to.
Well,
and had the rehabilitation.
Well, he said that was after he had moved out, though. He said the car accident
before their divorce. So
yeah, but he said he wasn't living with her at that time. So there's still a lie in there somewhere.
So at some point, he had lost weight due to the accident and lost mobility and had to learn to walk again. He even said he had to learn to walk again.
That was after.
Right, but I'm saying he acted like it didn't happen at all, though. Initially.
Yeah, in the beginning, he was like, I don't know what she's talking about. And like when he didn't have enough time to figure out what to say, and the interviewer would ask him something, he'd just be like, lies.
So what got me was the one time when he said lies and then said something like, well, it was a lie that you told her and not an actual lie that was a lie, when it was like, you were supposed to get she was supposed to get a BMW, and he said lies. But then he was like, I wanted to teach her a lesson. So he went to the car dealership, but I wasn't ever going to get her the car. So who lied? I mean, he just basically ran into the fact that he was the liar. He just said it. I'm like, do you not understand the words coming out of your mouth? I don't know.
Like, dude, you ain't even clever with it. And the funny thing is, he's been banned on TikTok, and she's still on the come up. And I know that is killing him, because the one thing that an abuser hates is, first of all, being outed.
Damn.
Number two, the person that they abuse on the come up.
Right.
Can't stand that. Can't stand that.
We've seen it time and time again where somebody like, hey, you can't have no keys, but then they later get the apartment or the house that they wanted. Or, well, we can go on and on, but I'm just saying real life stuff. Like, we've seen this type of person.
Oh, yeah.
We actually know, unfortunately, this type of mentality, even though I'm not going to say it was the level of, well, it was close. I was like, what Risa Tisa went through, I was like, I've seen this before. And it wasn't too far away from my circle. I'm like, oh, what? Yeah, so there are a lot of people out there like that. And you were saying that Risa Tisa was saying, hey, people need to know, because that Legion is not the only person doing those types of things.
Exactly.
It's all around the country, all around the world, probably, that these types of people taking advantage of people and roping them in and then switching up for whatever reason. It's like, why? Now, I understand you want people to make some changes. So for him, initially, he was saying that, hey, wanted her to start taking some responsibility and make some changes. I understand that, but he was treating her like a 5-year-old or a kindergartner, as opposed to as an adult. Okay, these are the things that will get you to where you need to be, and these are some of the steps that may help. But you can try your own path. He didn't even present it like that. He's like, I'm gonna teach you a lesson, like that.
Like with the BMW, he said that he was like, well, I showed her that because the features that she wanted in a car were, consistent with a BMW. And he was like, but I wasn't going to buy it. Like, then why you mess with her like that?
Right.
Why would you mess with her head like that? And one thing that she said was she thought that it gave him some type of thrill,
right,
to see that she wasn't going to get these things that he set her up to feel she could get and then not deliver it.
Right.
Like he was talking about, he bought her an Acura and told her to leave early from work so that they could deliver it to the house. There was no delivery. He had never bought that car, but he made her miss work and go home for a car he knew wasn't going to be delivered. Like, stuff like that. And then, oh Lord, the proof of funds. Let's talk about the proof of funds. So dude say, I can buy this house in cash, some $700,000 house. He said he could buy it in cash. He makes a fake letter, which I think we kind of confirmed what that was. There was a real estate agent who said that what he probably had on letterhead was a pre-qualification and instead of a pre-approval. And so with the pre-qualification, she said that basically you call into the bank and say, this is how much I make. There's no verification of anything. You just tell them the information. They plug it in and say, okay, this is what you qualify for based on the information you gave us. With the pre-approval, you're actually going through the process where they're checking your credit, checking your employment, and all of that stuff. So she was saying he probably had a pre-qual letter as opposed to a pre-approval, which would explain how he had this letter that said that he was qualified for $700,000. And he said that he had the cash in an offshore account and that he could pay for this house in cash. So the sellers say, we will accept the offer if he can show proof of funds. He said, I ain't showing them proof of funds until they accept the offer. So they going back and forth on this game. And the real estate agent was like, look, you got to have a proof of funds or, I mean, dude, it's not happening. And he was like, all right then. And he backed out of the house. The thing about it was, he knew good and well he couldn't get that house. But when they did the interview with him, and he said that Risa Tisa wanted to see these houses, he didn't want to see no house. That's his story. He didn't want to see no house. She wanted to keep seeing these houses. He was like, I'll look at them with you, but I'm not buying nothing until you get your credit together. That's what he claims happened. And he said, so when they asked for proof of funds, that's why I said no, because I wasn't going to buy a house no way. So,
but he didn't ever say where he got that statement of whatever was bank account.
Well, he had the bank account statement she found out was from a Google image. Dude was a master of finding him some Google images and making them into whatever he wanted them to be. And so and this is the thing, another thing that I think people don't understand is like, people like, oh, she's stupid because he lied. No, dude had faked things that backed up his lies.
He had fake documents that I mean, people have done from a corporate standpoint, embezzlement, etc., and got away with.
We don't have people run our country to do that shit to us.
Right.
That's like saying, oh, well, you should have moved from America. So, like, don't be acting like, you all better than her because she got caught up in a situation and you didn't. The only difference is that you ain't run into a Legion. You may have run into a Legion Junior or somebody with a touch of Legion, but you ain't ran into him. So you can't sit up here and act like, oh, well, I'm better than her. I ain't never made no dumb decision. Like, okay.
Now, I will say with the marriage thing is, I think we talked about, is before the pandemic, the planning and wanting to get married and the evolution of that has changed so dramatically after the pandemic. Like, let's not do this so quickly anymore. Let's not jump like we would have. So it was one of those, before the pandemic, you have a plan and then want to do it. And then when the pandemic came, it's like, okay, we need a quick plan to quickly do it. And now it's like the opposite after the pandemic. Let's slow this down. Wait a minute.
Yeah, she says she has no interest in dating right now, which I totally understand. But he was kind of using that as a flex in his video. So he was saying that he is dating somebody now, and he was like, the whole reason she came out with this story is because I'm in a new relationship and she mad. And she was like, if you don't come back to me, Ryan, hush. Cut that. But she was saying, like, he was saying, if I don't go back to her, then she said she gonna release the videos because she jealous of the new relationship. I'm like, boy, if you don't stop lying, like, it was so obvious he was lying. Like, don't nobody want you. And so he also said he was upset about her having her Cash App on her TikTok. First of all, people asked her for it because people wanted to help her out. So, I mean, she did it. I mean, I would have too. Like y'all, I'm on TikTok as Tiff site. If y'all want to see, if y'all want my Cash App, I'll give it to you. So be mad if you want to. But it's like he was upset about that. He claims that a lady contacted him and said, Risa Tisa blocked me after I sent her $3,000 and I'm upset. And he said that apparently there's quite a few people that are supposedly coming to him and saying, I gave her money and I'm upset because I found out she lied. So apparently he said that she was copying the story of somebody else. And when these people found out about this, they called him or contacted him in some way and said, this messed up, what's she doing? So he said he sent the $3,000 lady $1,000 he was like, that's all I can give you. But he was like, because this lady had kids and everything. That ain't happened. Like, dude, you ain't. If you saw him in the video, he ain't got no $1,000 to just be giving out.
Or when his girlfriend stopped him.
So the girlfriend was in the background. There was some woman in the background whispering things for him to say, I guess. And so checked this out. He said with the new girlfriend, first in the video, he says that her sister has an affiliation with the FBI. We don't know what that means. Halfway through the video, she in the FBI. She's an actual FBI agent. So she got a promotion in like a few minutes. And she was like, yeah, her sister is an FBI agent and she had me checked out before I was allowed to date her sister. Now, you a lie in the third. You a lie and the truth ain't in you.
Hold on. And people just got fired for looking up somebody romantically. Police officer, law enforcement happens all the time. You get fired for doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you ain't allowed to just do that just because you feel like it. Like, I'm going to need you to stop lying right now. And the woman sitting there, she ain't saying nothing. But another ex, it was two exes that came out with their TikTok videos talking about him too. And he said that Risa Tisa was paying them. I'm like, okay. So she done paid all these people. Okay. But she got bad credit and she don't know how to manage money, according to him. But she was able to have the wherewithal to pay all these people to be against him. Maybe it was the money from the $3,000 lady. I don't know. But
it can't be both ways.
Right. And then another thing he said was that his loved ones were being harassed because of Risa Tisa's videos talking about somebody had to drop out of high school and move to another state. Somebody was harassed on their job. Somebody tried to set a house on fire. All kinds of stuff I'm sorry, not fire, vandalized. But he was like, this is all because of her. And like, I'm sorry that, all this stuff is happening. But then in the same breath, he say, I ain't got no negative publicity from it. Every time I see people, they be like, keep your head up, man. Keep your head up, man. Which one is it? So they gonna tell you to keep your head up, but they're gonna attack all these other people that are somehow in relation to you. Like it's not logical, boo-boo. Like
it gives you a headache, and then
my head was spinning. I'm like, okay, we got this lie, and I couldn't keep up. It's like you trying to juggle, and then like you think you got it, and then they just all start falling, and you're like, I can't even. Ain't nothing else I could do.
So what got me was, when the dude was trying to respond to Risa Tisa, and Legion interviewer had to look like, am I supposed to believe this? I said, I can't.
He was looking like, the look on his face was everything. Like, he just had this look like, now come on.
When he told a couple stories, but it was like, okay, what the lies are your lies, or I don't know, but I can't.
But one thing that I would like to talk about before we close as well is how he was even revealed. There was another TikToker, because Risa Tisa did not
Reveal
give
Legion.
any information on any of the players in the game. Okay. Even the people that are real, she gave them fake names in her video.
Right.
But the TikToker that wanted to talk about this, she went and found him. She did some sleuthing, found the dude. Risa Tisa asked her, she said, look, can you please not do that?
Right.
And she was like, because I don't know what he's going to do. The woman said, no, I'm putting it out there anyway.
Now, the woman who put it out there, she was abused and didn't put her own abuser out.
Exactly.
So why would she put somebody else's situation out there knowing that it's a dangerous thing to do?
Right. And Risa Tisa was like, well, could you at least give me like 48 hours to get my ducks in a row? And she said no. Well, the reason why, though, is because she gonna want to trendjack her and not like just use the hashtag. I'm talking about everybody go floating over to her page so she get TikTok views and she get paid too. So she was exploiting this woman she never met, exploiting her story, her very vulnerable story, and could have put her in significant danger.
It's crazy.
Risa Tisa said that she good. She didn't go into details about, like what it is, but she's protected.
Right.
But that's something else that she had to do because somebody else did this. And my thing is even if you wanted to look it up yourself, like you just want to see who it is, like, let me piece this together and see if I can find out who this is. You don't have to publicize it.
No, that's putting a lot of people in danger. That just is a very irresponsible thing to do. No matter, there's no justification. The person tried to justify. There's no justification. None.
Thank you so much for letting me get this out today, because we had talked about this previously about, what we were going to do for the show. And so I appreciate you letting me get this off my chest in a very public way.
Yeah, because that was a lot of time and effort you put into watching it. So finally you got to use some of that. We want to thank you, and we're going to see you next time on Barry's Poetic Session Relationship Show. Thank you. Truth.